Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right. To write that down Wednesday here, the only shows in America with the Sam Cassell grapefruits enough to put statistics next to our predictions. We got the Sports Dad. We got often mustached producer Declan.
Trimmed it up.
Phil Mackey here. Oh, you did. You trimmed up the safety net there, it looks like.
Yep, that helped. Danny Coulomb, big fan of the mustache. He's the second time he has said something about the mustache.
Oh, two different times.
Two different times has said, that's a great mustache, bro. I said, thank you. Thank you.
Did he forget that he complimented you the first time? Or is
Very
he like
possible.
doubling down on his
Very
first
possible.
compliment?
Yeah, I think that 19-year-old kid was in here the other day. Who is he today? You never know. What's that, Judd?
I said, so you're bro?
I was bro. Yes, I was bro. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I love when Judd speaks in fragments.
I was trying to cut in there because I love the bro. So he's no idea. He's like me. He has no idea
barging
who you
in
are.
with a fragmented sentence.
He has no idea.
You bro.
I am on a recon assignment here in Chicago, just investigating Ben Johnson's offensive scheme. So I'm on a secret mission here on behalf of Purple Daily. Now I am in a hotel in downtown Chicago right now, where the sun has emerged for a little top secret media project for our parent company, Gamut. So we'll see if I can pick up any intel on Caleb Williams and his fingernails being painted which color. But before we get into our write that down predictions here, the accountability session, a shout out to North American Banking Company, Minnesota-based since 1998, 6 locations across the Twin Cities, and you can bank on friendly and knowledgeable people, the safety and security of your accounts, and just a human experience in a world where that's hard to find sometimes with your banking company. If you're looking for a better banking experience, go to nabankco.com/Mackey to learn more. That's nabankco.com/Mackey. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. All right. Have you guys plowed through much of the quarterback docuseries on Netflix yet?
No, it's on my to-do list, though. I almost started watching a little bit yesterday before heading to Twins, but wasn't able to do it. But I do want to watch it.
I just feel terrible for Kirk, so I can't watch it. I feel so bad for him.
It is painful. It's so tough. Yeah,
I feel
just
so
how
bad for him.
it's nothing breaks that guy's way, in life or football. It's really tough.
As Dex and I talked about on Purple Daily yesterday without you, though, he did provide a very interesting alternate reality for the Vikings, though. Because now saying that well, and he would have stayed here if he could have started. Like, if he had known, he would have stayed here because he would have thought that he could have intimidated the Vikings into not taking a quarterback. Because his quote from last July was, well, Kevin O'Connell told me if I come back, they probably will not draft a quarterback. Now, Kevin Seifert reported the exact opposite, but my God, did the Vikings catch a break.
Imagine spending that much mental energy throughout your career. And this is not just a last year thing for him. He has spent so much time meticulously making sure that there is zero competition at backup quarterback or in the quarterback room. Basically, since he left Washington, he won the job from RG3, injured RG3 like 10 years ago. Yep. And he made damn sure that his guy, Sean Mannion, zero threat, was the backup for years in Minnesota. And at the first sign of potentially drafting a quarterback, and then like the way that he structures his contracts, like, okay, you're doing the team. Now I'm just cracking open old wounds here, but you're doing the team zero favors by the way that you demand your contracts to be structured, holding the team by the balls basically for 5 or 6 years. And then when the team says, we kind of want to look out for our future. You're pretty old now, Achilles tendon injury, and he's like, oh well, the Falcons are looking like a pretty good destination too. And then the Falcons look out for their future. You know what? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, the list of legendary quarterbacks better than Kirk Cousins, whose teams have tried to draft their replacement either in the first or second round. It's such a long list. And you know what those guys did? They got competitive. They balled out. They dealt with it. So, man, that was like, I haven't thought about that guy much in the last few months, but the clips coming, I watched like the first half of the first episode and just saw the Cousins clips, and it was like PTSD from a damaged previous relationship or something.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, he got mad. He and Zimmer both were pissed off about the fact that they drafted Kellen Mond in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But this
well,
is
Zimmer because Kellen Mond was bad, and Cousins because he posed a threat, right?
Well, here's the funniest thing. They both, Kirk Cousins and Mike, had one thing in common. They both hated quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's true.
Kirk hated a quarterback who wasn't Kirk, and Mike hated them all.
Yeah.
So, that was the thing. But, yeah, there is the Vikings definitely dodged a bullet.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It'll be a fun day when he can put the gold jacket on for Hall of Fame of bag carriers with cash flowing out of those bags. But let's get to the accountability session here before we do anything else. And by the way, if you're new to write that down, here's how it works. 3 Vikings or football-related predictions from everybody each week on the show. They have to be quantifiable, and those are pretty much the only parameters. The season runs from Super Bowl to Super Bowl, and we keep track of completion percentage and touchdowns around here. And listeners, if you want to participate, you can send Declan a message through the Score North app, and we'll get you scheduled for an upcoming session, hopefully. So not a lot coming off the board. So in the absence of things coming off the board, we will highlight things still on the board. And Judd, you said Kirk Cousins will be a starting quarterback for an AFC team. Did any of those clips sway your mind in any way?
No, in fact, he is going to do everything he can to force his way out. So, no.
For sure.
I would not be surprised if if somebody gets hurt in training camp or something takes place. No, I feel better about this prediction than I did a week ago.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to my end of the accountability session here. Nothing came off the board. So still on the board, I told you guys almost a year ago, it'll be documented or made public that J.J. McCarthy is in the facility on a Tuesday. Not like a short week situation where they play a Thursday game. And I know that he's in the facility all the time, but off-season doesn't really count. The injured year last year where he's like rehabbing on a Tuesday with the knee stuff. This is the actual work week when he's healthy is when this will kick in. So I think it might be the first Tuesday. I think I don't know if they're gonna put something out. I think he works in silence behind the scenes,
right.
So he's not going to be like documenting himself in the facility on a Tuesday.
Right.
But it'll be something that kind of leaks out to the press.
Or you could just have someone at his first press conference on a Wednesday say, "Hey, were you here yesterday?" And if he says yes, it's documented. So I will never say that.
You know, and where this could be a bad beat and where you want it maybe early, where if new little baby McCarthy is on the way, Tuesday might be a day where he's at home.
Like if the kid arrives on a Tuesday?
Either or. If he arrives, maybe that's a day that's just he's around at home on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, even with the newborn, I don't think he's taking every Tuesday off during his first year as a starter.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
You just want him to go to work.
It's possible.
Yeah, but he could go home. Like, he doesn't have to be there all day. Like, if he just says, I was here from 10 to 1, working, sweating the film, grinding the film, right? That's all you need.
It is funny how, because it was a year ago, basically now, right, that we had, or was it 2 years ago? When did it was last year. When did the first Kirk Cousins quarterback? That was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. 2 years ago.
It's 2023
last year. Yep.
And he sparked a national debate about not only NFL work culture and whether NFL players are or aren't in the facility on a Tuesday, but it sparked, I think, just a general work culture discussion about should you be allowed to take some time off and hang out with your family? And the answer is, if you're a $35 million, $45 million a year quarterback, no, you must be in there all the time. Let's go to the next one here. Listeners, nothing came off the board. Alex said Kirk Cousins will win a Super Bowl as a backup quarterback at some point. End date 2029.
Okay. Well,
Falcons? Super Bowl
not,
winners in 2026?
He's going to get his way out of there, man, right? He's going to force his way out.
Yeah, I would think that if this happens, it'll be with the Vikings. 2025, 26, you know. And then Declan had a couple things come off the board here. You said we will see Joe Burrow driving or firing up the Batmobile that he allegedly purchased during the quarterback docuseries. But he said on the docuseries he canceled the purchase of the Batmobile after his house was broken into. So he was spooked into canceling this purchase.
I'm
said
very
I
upset about this.
He said, I want to get some other things in order. I was curious about, like, because the quote didn't really. So, like, okay, your
Well,
house got broken into. You had to get some things in order, and so that's why he said he canceled the purchase. So
two things in this. Number one, Joe, you could use the Batmobile to stop burglars. That's literally what Batman does every single day. Two, I mean, it probably does make sense if you have to get some stuff in order. I would probably cancel the purchase in real life of the Batmobile. So that does make some sense.
You know, but buying a Batmobile is a great example of being a fun rich guy.
Yeah.
Like Joe Burrow is a fun rich guy.
Yeah.
You got $200 million in the bank. You're young. You're cool. You're free to do whatever you want. And so he's just like showing up to random celebrity events with crazy clothes. He's teaching himself via YouTube videos how to play the piano because he just has some downtime. You're not going to be grinding film and throwing footballs for every waking second.
Is that on a
And
Tuesday?
he's buying Batmobiles.
Yeah.
I think he tickles the ivories on a Tuesday. Yeah.
Tickles the ivory.
the funniest thing about the Tuesday debate or comment is when you realize how long the NFL offseason is, like how much down, like you're not going into the facility for a huge portion, right? And like
For
we're talking about,
like 7 months out of the year.
yes,
most-
yes. So like if God bless him, JJ McCarthy and his gal, they're gonna have this kid. That's great. You get mom or both moms there to help, and he can grind every day in season because he's going to have a lot of time with that kid starting in February, late February.
Amazing. So those are the accountabilities there. And we have a lot more to come off the board once the actual season starts. But to this point, we're still early, but I'm at 58.8%, Judd 45.5%, Declan 36.2%, listeners 26.7%. 3 touchdowns apiece for Judd and myself. Declan with 2 touchdowns, and the listeners yet to score a touchdown on the season. Career stats dating back to 2021. Declan leads the completion percentage category, 36.7%, and I lead the touchdown category by 1 over the listeners with 61 career touchdowns. All right, let's get Zach in here. Making an appearance here on Write That Down. Always working on Tuesdays, I'm sure. Zach, what's going on, man? Welcome to Purple Daily.
Hey, how y'all doing?
We're doing pretty well.
Outstanding.
What's your background as a Vikings fan?
Yeah, grew up in Vikings country, northern Minnesota, and always a big Minnesota sports fan. In 7th grade, my science teacher, Mr. Anderson, started a fantasy football league, and that's what really got me kind of full in on the football scene, and of course the Vikings.
Wow, so you started playing fantasy football, you said in 7th grade, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, shout out to Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
That's a great teacher.
Who was your running back? Who are like some of the key players on your first ever fantasy team?
I think Sean Alexander was like my top guy. I think he was kind of hurt that year though.
Sure.
Dude, didn't he score 4 touchdowns in like 1/2 against the Vikings?
Yeah, I think it was a
Wouldn't surprise me.
prime time game. Yeah, I think it was like a Sunday night game or something like that. But you know what that is? That's a great teacher. That is, teachers take note. You know what? Your subject, it might help kids. It might not help kids. But the fantasy football league, like that guy could have taught any subject, but the fact that he launched a fantasy football league that you could be involved in, game changer as far as the teacher goes.
Was he a math teacher? What subject did Mr. Anderson teach?
He was a 7th grade like general science teacher, and yeah, fantasy football was probably the most important thing I learned in 7th grade that year.
Yeah, like listen, kids. All right, whether it's math, science, you could just
awesome.
Google all that stuff. Let's play some fantasy football. Let's rock and roll here. So, all right, Zach, we're going to start with you. You're going to make the first prediction. Over to Judd, Declan, back to me. We'll make 3 trips around the room. If you're ready, let's fire this up. What's your first prediction?
All right, to start off, I have a TJ Hockenson prediction. I think kind of the overall sentiment of TJ Hawkinson's been a little bit of a disappointment for Vikings fans, but I think he's going to have a good year this year, build a connection with McCarthy. He's going to set a career high for touchdowns. Previous record was 6 in 2020 and 2022. This year, write that down. He's going to break it.
All right, yeah.
Nice.
Time to go. We've had a lot of sort of speculative conversations about J.J. McCarthy's love for tight ends, Colston Loveland at Michigan, so it would make some sense that the Hawk has a big year. Judd.
All right, I've been trying to get this to happen for 5 years, so write this down. The Vikings will announce plans to retire Randy Moss's number 84 within the next year. They're finally going to do it. I think the cancer scare, it sounds like he's healthy now, which is awesome. Life is short. He's one again. He's one of the best players. He's one of the biggest changers in franchise history. So I think we're going to have finally a decision to retire 84. I think it's very fair to take that out of rotation.
So the oldest prediction you have on the books, actually, it's on the OG Mackey and Judd version of Write That Down. And I think you made this prediction like 8 years ago, according to the database.
Wow.
That the Vikings will retire Randy Moss's 84 at some point. It is the oldest prediction on the board for
Very
Judd,
nice.
but it's on the OG edition.
Yep.
And you didn't put a timeline on it.
I'm putting
so
a
it just
timeline.
kind of it's just going to sit there until I don't know, until the franchise folds or they retire his number. All right, Dex, over to you.
All right, I'll go with this one. So Andrew Van Ginkel clocked in as the next Vikings player on the top 100 list. He was number 88. That came in yesterday. So I believe they're doing like 2 to 3 at a time every single day, like leading up to the week 1 of the 2025 season. So this could technically, I guess, come off the board by the time a lot of people consume this. Maybe it's later though. But Jonathan Grenard will be the next player announced next Vikings player announced on the top 100. He'll be the next one. I went back and forth in this a little bit because if Van Ginkel's 80, so Jones was 99, Van Ginkel was 88. I'm trying to think who's next, and I feel like if Van Ginkel is 87, I think guys like Harrison Smith and Byron Murphy Jr. are out. But I mean, I could be wrong on that. Maybe Byron Murphy had a big year, so I was kind of between him and Grenard, but I think the next guy on the list is Grenard.
Okay. So I have a prediction in a similar bin here, but all due respect to Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, write this down. Dallas Turner will tally a sack this season before Van Ginkel and Grenard. So he will, of those three guys, Dallas Turner will tally the first sack in the regular season. And it's probably coming off the bench, quote unquote, either on the first third down or maybe on like the second drive. So he's going to have a disadvantage because the other guys are probably going to be on the field for the first snap, and then he'll come in at some point.
Did you hear that he got like scammed out of almost $250K in a bank fraud?
Really?
Yeah. It's in the Star Tribune today.
Yep.
Yeah, check it out. It's
almost $250,000 in a bank fraud scheme.
That's why he needs North American Banking Company, proud sponsor of Write That Down here every Wednesday, Purple Daily. Safety and security of your accounts. Over to Zach.
All right. So last year, Andrew Van Ginkel shared that he had a secret that he learned from Vic Fangio on how to read screen passes. I think this season he sees that the Vikings may have a Super Bowl window, and I think he's going to share that secret with some of the players. Write this down. At least 2 Vikings defensive ends or edge players not named Andrew Van Ginkel will have an interception this coming season.
Wow. So they're all just going to be baiting the quarterback, dropping back into that throwing lane, pick sixes.
If Grenard, did he drop 2 possible ones?
2.
So he could have had 4. That's
Easily.
absolutely incredible.
Football comes at you fast, though. Just slinging that thing around. Yeah, that would be. I mean, he should have been sharing that secret last year, right? Is he not telling Patrick Jones? Hey, Jonathan, I'll tell you, but don't tell Patrick. This is how you read these plays.
I wouldn't tell Pat Jones. Last year was
Yeah,
contract.
is he a free agent? Yeah,
He
he
might-
might take
he's
that.
go-
Still take that secret somewhere else.
Yeah, hell no.
Yeah.
All right.
Amen, Judd.
I also have a Dallas Turner and an interception, at least partially prediction. Dallas Turner will have at least 1 sack and 1 interception within the first 4 games of the season. So he'll get a sack, but he also will get a pick. I'm wondering if he's not going to be dropped into coverage at times as part of the B flow,
Well, he was last year. Yeah.
the new stew a little bit too with how they approach things. So yeah. So Dallas Turner, 1 sack, 1 pick within the first 4 games of the regular season.
That's a tud if that happens.
Yeah.
I think
Feeling
if that
good about
happens.
this.
Okay, write this down. Judd and I talked about the Vikings running back tandem and what to expect when Mason or Aaron Jones are on the field. Jordan Mason has never been a threat catching the football. He's caught 14 passes in 3 years in the NFL. And at college at Georgia Tech, he only caught 25 passes in 4 years. So just a guy that either was never destined to catch the ball or just can't catch the ball, not sure. But I'm going to buy that he's going to have some more catches this year. So write this down. Jordan Mason will catch at least 20 passes in 2025.
Wow.
At least 20. I think they'll get him involved. I don't know if he's going to be like
that's a tud.
Yeah, okay. Good with that.
Is that a tud? Just based on his history, like he doesn't really
definitely
catch passes.
I just we talked about it, and as Deck said, and I just could see him being used in that way. And if he proves that he can catch, I think he gets. And I also am hesitant because was it 2 or 3 years ago when Josh Oliver arrived that we were all told he just blocks, he can't catch. Don't worry about him catching the ball. He's proven to have fine hands. So.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, but Oliver doesn't catch a lot. What did he catch? Did he catch 23, 25 passes last year? They could use him more in that regard, and maybe J.J. McCarthy will do that. Yep. So write this down. All right, doing some recon out here in the great city of Chicago. I'm not seeing it with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. I'm not seeing it early on. I think there's still going to be some things to work out, so write this down. Caleb Williams will take a sack and also throw an interception before he throws his first touchdown pass of the season. So he'll take both a sack and an interception before he throws his first touchdown pass. Write it down.
All in week 1?
Off the record?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's the Flores defense.
Actually, love
it. The Vikings have a great advantage in that first game. Knock on wood. I know it's the Bears and things get weird because this is the 3rd year of that defense. It's gelling together. It was top 5 in scoring last year, and it's the same system with maybe some tweaks with better down linemen than the last 2 years. And then you have a new head coach, new offensive system, new offensive line, young quarterback who is sack and turnover prone. So I think if it clicks with those guys, it's probably not going to happen week 1 against the Vikings. So that's the spirit of this prediction.
I like it.
Okay. Back to Zach for your 3rd and final prediction.
All right. For my 3rd and final prediction, I have a little Minnesota Vikings Timberwolves crossover. We've had some players at Timberwolves games for the Vikings, Jefferson and McCarthy. We had Metellus getting warnings courtside during the playoffs. So for this upcoming season, I think one of the Timberwolves' new $100 million signings, either Naz Reid or Julius Randle, are going to blow the Yaller horn at a Vikings game this year.
Okay.
Great prediction.
Yeah. I'm shocked that Naz Reid hasn't done it yet.
Has he?
I thought of just having him being
has.
the only person, but I think he might think he's too cool to do it. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like, he's a man of the people.
Yeah.
I think he'd do it, but I don't think he's done it. Mike Conley did it last year for the opener, right?
That's right.
And of course, unfortunately, his
robbed.
home got robbed while he was doing it. But
that's right.
I like this prediction. Very solid.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Zach, great work here with these predictions. Since you've got this life-altering platform here, would you like to thank or shout anybody out in your life?
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to my wife. We met about 6 years ago, and she immediately picked up the Vikings as one of her teams. She's from Tennessee, so she's a Titans fan, but the Vikings have definitely become her second favorite team. So really appreciative of that. And big shout out to y'all. Live on the West Coast now, so not many people to talk Vikings to, and you guys give so much content and try to watch or listen every day. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate the kind words. Good luck with your predictions, and hopefully we see you again sometime.
Y'all take care. Thank you.
All right. Guest listener predictor Zach coming in.
Mr. Anderson.
Dude, Mr. Anderson's the star of the show
man.
here, I feel like. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Teachers,
Listen,
man.
kids, we're gonna study for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna do a dynasty league draft. It's gonna be great.
I feel like because if he was drafting Sean Alexander, like obviously he was probably still doing like an online draft, but that was still because that was around the time I started playing fantasy football. I was buying so many magazines, like had paper, not just doing research online. That was, I feel like the
magazines, dude.
The magazines, going to the airport or getting all the magazines that I possibly can if I was anywhere to study up on fantasy football.
Yeah, I think my first year of fantasy football, it was like late 90s or early 2000s because I think David Boston was one of my starting. Do you remember that guy? Was it the Cardinals? Wasn't he like an Ohio State? He was huge, right?
Huge, and
Ohio
a Patriot,
State.
I think too. I think a Cardinal and a Patriot. He was a big dude, and yeah, I would not want to tackle that guy. Well, I don't want to tackle anyone, but I definitely wouldn't want to tackle that guy.
Yeah, I'm looking up his David Boston. Yes, 6'2", 240-pound.
He was bigger than that.
Receiver out of Ohio State. He was the 8th overall pick by the Cardinals in '99. Yeah, that's his listed weight.
Yeah.
And
Dude,
okay.
Oh no.
Okay, here it is. In 2001, he had a ridiculous. He went for pro, and then that was kind of a wrap on his career.
Yeah, he was
David Boston.
I think
right.
Phil, as you Googled that, your upload speeds was like, oh, you're doing too much.
It's
But
very,
we got
shaky.
we got most of it. He did have an absurd 2001 season, and if you just Google him and look at pictures, he looks like a wrestler. He looks like a UFC fighter. It's nuts.
Yeah. The internet's
guys,
hanging by a thread when you look up David Boston, and it basically
right.
shuts down your browser.
You got to go back to the days of waking up on Monday with the newspaper and starting to tabulate your own score to find out if you had won. And of course, that wasn't the official one, but at least it gave you an idea.
I feel like there was probably a lot of leagues, these close games where it's like a point difference where you're trusting someone's math by hand through a newspaper to determine like a high stakes fantasy football league back in the day.
Little Steve Young action. Very important.
Oh, let's go. Before we get to our final predictions here, here's a prediction. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning can probably change your life for a good cause, Judd.
Absolutely true, because guess what? You can rely on them. And if you're thinking about going ductless, just call MSP. They're a Mitsubishi Elite Diamond contractor for ductless. If you have an older home and no ductwork, no problem. MSP specializes in smart and efficient ductless installs. These systems aren't cheap, so you want it done right. MSP will help you make the best decision for your home and budget. Quiet, efficient, no ugly renovations, just comfort where it's necessary. MSP been serving the Twin Cities for more than 100 years, and when it comes to ductless, they're going to do right by you. Give them a call, 651-615-4292, or check them out online. Call MSP.com. Call MSP.com. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Across the board, they're going to take care of you.
And so if MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning is like, it's like the guts of your home, right? It's the ducts. Minnesota Rusco is here to help remodel the aesthetics, the windows, the doors, the bathrooms, kitchens, decks, whatever it is. Minnesota Rusco has been Minnesota's hometown remodeler, as they say in their jingle, since 1955. And they offer a multitude of home improvement products and services. I just mentioned a bunch of them, 7 years of experience. And in the month of July, you get 15% off everything they do at Minnesota Rusco. So if you've been thinking about, oh man, do we have enough time this summer? Is this the year? Well, you can get 15% off kitchens, bathrooms, windows, siding, roofing, decks, doors right now in the month of July, and no payments, no interest for 12 months. So if you're ready to remodel your home, call Minnesota Rusco or look them up online at minnesotarusco.com, minnesotarusco.com. And and then maybe you're going to move to a new place. Yeah. All of these things tie together. 2 men in a truck, Declan.
Yeah, my friends at 2 Minute Truck made my move happen. They came to my house. They packed things up securely, safely, efficiently. They were in and out in 2 hours. It was an easy process. Awesome guys, too. My guys, David and Artie, did a great job. If you're looking to make that next move, don't try to figure out who has a truck or try to get your family or friend's truck. Hire 2 men and a truck. Tell them that Purple Daily sent you. They'll make that move super easy. No hidden fees or service charges. Go to 2menandatruck.com to get that quote today.
All right, Judley, your third and final prediction here.
All right, I think the second consecutive week I'm going to have a golfer prediction, a little golfer football sprinkled in.
RTB. LFG.
PJ Fleck prediction.
Hyperculture.
PJ Fleck will leave the Gophers before the 2027 season, so a couple of years, for a Big Ten or SEC school. His current, if he leaves now, he would owe the school $5.5 million, or his new employer would, but it decreases after 2025, and here's why. I think PJ Fleck might be ideally suited for the new age of professional college football. He is, I don't think he's a great game coach, but I think he's a great GM, and I think he gets kids buy in. If I am an SEC school, a legit one, or I am a Big Ten school, a very top echelon one, and I'm looking now, and I can surround Fleck with a game day coaching staff to help him out more, I think his ability to get kids and not just the recruiting process, but the more importantly, portal recruiting process, I think he's going to become a hotter commodity than he's ever been based on the rules now in place if you look at how well he's doing recruiting and getting kids in here.
You know what's crazy? There's been a few times where like people have been really frustrated with PJ, or they've had a couple weird down seasons, but for the most part, he's the best Gophers football head coach in 60 years. 65 Murray Warmath, early 60s, which is a totally different time period and era.
Sure.
It would be a devastating loss to lose that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if we've felt that way about, Lou Holtz felt devastating to those who watched Gopher football in the 80s. Right. And Glenn Mason had a really good decade-long stretch, but by the end of it, they had blown so many ridiculous,
it was time.
6 touchdown blown leads or whatever, 5 touchdown blown leads. And people are like, all right, it's time. And then they whiffed on the Tim Brewster hire. But it would be devastating to that program if that happened. Be careful what you wish for if you are anti-PJ Fleck, I guess.
I just think the more that I watch him in the current environment, I think he becomes more of a weapon. Because, again, I'll say this. In my opinion, it's more of a GMing thing, but kids buy in, the portal is constant, and as far as I can tell, the dude is tireless. He does not take Tuesdays off.
No, he doesn't.
So
does not take Tuesdays off. Not that we're still obsessed with that from 2 years ago, clearly on this episode. Okay, Declan.
Yeah. Speaking of Gophers, Max Brosmer throws the first preseason touchdown pass for the Vikings. He throws the first preseason touchdown pass before Howell, before McCarthy. We'll even see if McCarthy gets any run in the games. But Max Brosmer will throw the first preseason touchdown.
The Sam Howell disrespect palpable with that prediction.
Is that a touchdown? Because Howell will definitely play before him. Rippon will play before him.
Yeah, I think like in terms of
Rippon. Forgot about Rippon.
Oh no! Now you're having second thoughts.
I'm just saying he's the third.
I was going to agree with Judd, and then I realized, well, Rippon. There's another guy in front of him, so I'm now leaning that I agree with Judd.
You know what? All right, I'm gonna just so Dex and old Macadac can sweat the second half of the first preseason game. I will say that Brett Rippon throws the first touchdown pass of Vikings preseason. Let's sweat it together in that first preseason.
We're going to be in the deep red watching a meaningless preseason game. They're going to hand the ball off. They're going to hand it off. We're going to, damn it, no.
Unbelievable.
So, all right, boys, those are the predictions here, and we've been reading the comments off the All Jag team. Maybe you guys touched on this yesterday. We've been talking about it just off mic. And the people seem to be demanding the all bust 53-man roster. So we've done the all quarter century Vikings 53. We did the all Jag 53, and a bunch of you guys have been asking for us to do the all bust 53-man roster. Can we make the declaration right here that we will do that on Monday? I think the runway's clear on Monday for us to.
Absolutely.
We're still a couple weeks from training camp.
Yeah.
And so the parameters would be like draft busts, like first round, second round busts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then like what else?
Probably like free agent busts. Is there enough category there?
I mean, Fred Smoot makes it.
Fred Smoot.
Easily.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. Do we also add in then, and this is not a big list, but trade busts to include a guy like Herschel Walker?
Well, yeah, but okay.
I mean, I don't. I'm just.
That's a great-
I'm throwing it out there. Trades, free agents, drafts. I mean, it's the majority of the roster is obviously draft picks.
Like major disappointments.
Draft.
I know it's bust, but like major
Well,
disappointments.
Herschel Walker, for what he was traded for, was a definite bust here.
Yeah, but he would be like the best player on that roster, right? Because like his quarterback would be, not to spoil the whole episode, Christian Ponder, and the number one receiver would be like Laquan Treadwell, and Herschel Walker, like he didn't live up to what you gave up, but he was still like a good running back. This will be fun to hash out on Monday.
Nope.
We can discuss.
We can litigate it.
But we'll make it official that we'll do another 53-man roster exercise for Monday's show, and then Judd's camp notes is already he's doing push-ups, he's doing sprints up hills, and he's practicing his handwriting for the
for my
handwritten
notebooks.
notes. We
new
have
ones.
the customized official Judd's camp notes notebooks that we will make available to the public later on this summer. It's an exciting time to be Judd's Camp Notes. So, all right, for Sports Dad, for Judd's Camp Notes, for Dex, for Phil, this is Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. See you.